Good afternoon, Safe Harbor Property Management, YouTube and Facebook audiences. My name is Jennifer Noreen, and I work with Beyond Brand Collective. And I'm here with one of my clients, Marie Pettie, who is a designated broker and a property manager at Safe Harbor Property Management. How are you, Marie?
I am just fine. Just loving, today the weather is cooperating today and wonderful.
Good. So why don't you introduce me to your friend? I could introduce Zsofia, but maybe you would be better fit to introduce her. Tell us who we have with us as our guest today.
Well, we have Zsofia. She's with Farmer Frog, and she is a co-founder and co-director of the Farmer Frog organization.
She is. And just to read, I'm going to share the Farmer Frog site just really quick as we get going here. Just because I think what it says is super amazing. When children and families grow food for themselves, they sow the seeds of positive living. Farmer Frog cultivates programs, school gardens, and hands-on learning to nurture communities. So I've come to know them as an organization that actually feeds communities, but they also do so much more. They really promote the idea and the practice of gardening and positive living in the communities, in many communities. So I want to hear from Zsofia today. How is that going on right now during the pandemic? Are you still continuing those programs? And we want to hear an update from you, since Marie sits on your board and supports you, and we want to gather even more support for you by doing these broadcasts. So what is going on in your world?
A lot.
Yeah.
We've been very, very busy, and we were very grateful to be able to have several weeks of summer camp this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, last year in the 2020 pandemic summer, it was not possible. And this year, with COVID safety in place, social distancing observed and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
we were able to host 4 weeks total of summer camp. And 2 weeks out of this was with a program sponsorship sort of grant from OSPI, the state superintendent's office. And we were able to host each week over 30 children who otherwise would not have participated in summer camp.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool.
It was unbelievable. Just such sweetness. They really appreciated going outside and engaging with real life animals and plants, and they were able to see fish, in the aquaponic systems, and they petted and fed the goats, the sheep. They were holding all the various poultry birds, and they of course loved our livestock guardian dogs. Those guys are always just superstars, and it was a lot of learning for them. We had Mark Smith and Tyler Smith come, who are expert beekeepers, and we have hives, and they help take care of them. And they actually taught the kids about the bees. They showed them how to extract honey. They were able to taste fresh honey right out of the hive. And they also had some awesome snacks and lunch, and harvesting fresh produce on the farm, and making it into various salads and side dishes. It was something that I know they will be able to take with them and remember for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Wow, that is a lot. So it's bees and animals and gardening and food and vegetation, and it's just such a wide expanse. Mm-hmm. What a great opportunity for kids. Wow.
Yeah, it was. And, one really funny wildlife story. So, of course, we are in the middle of the forest, and we are talking to them about wildlife. And we went to the back to see the forest. And the bears are not coming by. They are so loud that even if they were in the area, but just before we enter, they will run the other way. But they were there not that long before us, and you could tell because there were bear poop piles. you know, when we were tracking that with the kiddos, you could just not get a better educational experience.
Goodness.
Kids looking at wildlife poop. It was the most exciting thing ever. And so, and that means, that when they are in such an excited state, they can retain more information and they remember things better. And so I think it really is something that will influence them moving forward in their life.
Yeah. So Marie, sitting on the board of Farmer Frog, you're supporting the giving that they do to the community as far as just the practical needs of food, right? But it's a wide number of areas that this organization serves, which kind of is amazing to me. But also these educational programs and what they're doing for children.
Yes, and especially it connects with us in the fact that Farmer Frog nurtures communities, and we try to have that posture too in our property management business, where we like to nurture our residents as far as respecting them and making sure that their home is safe and so forth. And we just really tie into that nurturing part. Really
yeah. So that it is, it's more than just the business relationship that you have with them as a renter, but you're supporting them as a family and as individuals and respecting them as individuals, which is so powerful and somewhat unique in the industry that you're in, frankly. You service a lot of people. So I'm sure that it taxes your patience and your processes a lot. So I love that. I love to hear that. So how did you two originally meet? Can you remind us how you came across Zsofia?
Well, we met at a experiential learning program that was going on way in Seattle. We just happened to meet there, and we did some experiential learning through that program, growing and becoming, and it was also a leadership program too that we were able to participate in, together. And we just learned a lot about ourselves and about the individuals that were in that particular program too. So it really kind of broadened my viewpoint about people in general and just kind of expanded my reasons and my beliefs in actually helping people and helping them to grow and be more of themselves.
Right. Just to be more engaged with their communities and to be more aware of what's going on around them too. I mean, talk about being aware of like the real life suffering of people. I
wanted to bring out one thing during that program. They had a part where we, as a group, I think there was a group of us of like 20, where we actually went out in the Seattle area and fed 4,000 people. We were given that task during that time to just go out and feed people, which we did. And it was really an eye-opening experience.
I bet it was. So was that a Farmer Frog sponsored event, or was that another event that you both were at?
It was another event.
Yeah, another event. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so, Zsofia, I was blown away at how many staff members you have. So how large is your organization?
We have a whole lot of team members, and then we also have a lot of volunteers. We support a lot of educational programs in the region, and that is preschool, K to 12 school, and college and university programs included. We also support with food 1.5 million Washingtonians, and we also reach people outside the state, a total of 35 other states, with food and supply deliveries and distribution. So the reason for the large team is because we are actually doing a lot. And in this last 20 months, we now have moved over 120 million pounds of food in 36 states, including Washington.
Wow.
So yeah, the team is definitely very busy. We are in the process of establishing a hunger relief hub 3 minutes away from the farm in Woodinville, and sort of addressing food insecurity and food access in a more direct way, because we service mostly BIPOC communities and all of the tribes in the area, and also have partnership with the national organizations of various churches and the National Tribal Emergency Management Council. So we are realizing what definite problems there are in food access, and we cannot donate our way out of that. We do need a lot of funding, and we are always fundraising because we can use the dollars to go a long way. In the past 18 months, we were able to use $1 and make 77 meals worth out of that. So we definitely have a need for a lot of funding, but ultimately the solution is to address the core issues. And we find that, generally speaking, it's impacting the BIPOC communities a lot heavier. So there is a really big racial gap in access and in services. So actually creating dignifying, livable wage jobs that are accessible if training is required or can be beneficial, then including that training as well for the community is a very big need. And that's what the hunger relief hubs are going to be addressing, besides providing emergency assistance when it comes to resources and supplies and food, since climate change is knocking on the door. And it's really a good thing that we are able to help so many nationwide, but it shouldn't be left for just a few handful organizations to supply the needs for so many millions. Right now, over 3 million Americans. This isn't sustainable. And so we must have localized solutions. And we are looking at a need of several hunger relief hub centers in every county. So our goal with this is create something that is duplicatable and serves as a template, but can be customized because each community is different. And it can provide hands-on learning and meal service and access to supplies and food and a pathway and, so to speak, a road that's opened and aligned with dignified and livable wage jobs for folks. Because until people can actually pay the cost of living, we are just going to be putting fires out. It's not going to really provide a solution.
Right.
So, that's really the goal. And so we are looking at various things. We formed a coalition now with some of our key partners, such as our sister nonprofit, the National Tribal Emergency Management Council, but also Feeding Feasible Feast, who are in Pierce County. We have the Pacific Islander Marshallese community. We have the Urban Food Systems Pact and Dare to Be and the Silent Task Force. These are all organizations and groups who are BIPOC-led and serving the BIPOC community.
I don't know what BIPOC is.
Oh, it's Black Indigenous People of Color.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that stands for. And it's it is so important that we and then also we have a wonderful partner, Chef Ariel, who runs the plant-based food share program. She's part of the coalition. So these are pathway projects that will bring true relief. That's our goal. And because education is so core to our being, we are finding that the most important tool in addressing the issues.
Sure, educating and making people aware. So how do your programs work in conjunction with the current state programs? So if someone is on CHIP, or, if a single mom is receiving food stamps, do they get what you provide in addition to that, or do you help supplement those programs, or how does that work?
A little bit of all of the above. We are outside the TFAP, which is the temporary food assistance programs. We do service food banks and food pantries and provide them food whenever we have valuable items for them, but we are not part of that system. So we don't. The food banks have a whole established roadway how they can receive assistance from the federal government to anywhere from dollar to food to whatever else they need. We are not part of that system, but so our first and foremost recipients are people and communities who have no access to the TFAP programs. And that is how we really are bridging the racial gap. And that means that the 1.5 million people we service are outside the state agencies, food banks serviced already 1.5 million Washingtonians. And so as we were collecting our data on who we serve, we actually were talking with the Washington State Department of Agriculture, WSDA. And initially, because the numbers were so close of how many we serve and how many they are supporting, we had the idea that it's probably because we overlap each other, right? I mean, the numbers were so close. But then we took a deeper look at who the organizations and the communities were who were coming to us and who were getting support through the state. And what we realized is that it's actually not less than 10% overlap.
Wow.
And that's when it really hit that really in Washington state right now, 40 to 50% of the people are food insecure. Wow. And when the University of Washington and WSU went ahead and did research projects this last summer, their data is now becoming available. It actually shows that, yes, most of the BIPOC communities are 50+% food insecure, and the tribes are 67% food insecure in the state. So we are in a very serious situation, and it's really every second Washingtonian right now.
How is it that they don't have access to the programs?
It's various limitations. Most of the time, it has to do with what food banks can provide them with, hours, or the limitations of the facility itself. They are maybe lacking cold storage. They cannot have fresh items, only non-perishable items. They only serve one family at a time per week. So in our case, we service agencies. But if I have a family come up to me and they are wanting to take food to the neighbors, we encourage that and allow that, because a lot of our seniors, for example, are not able to get to a source. But in the food bank, you have to go. Several food banks these days are starting up what is called a delivery system around the food bank itself, not very far. We have a wide range of delivery. And, we do go to remote areas. Over the course of the past 20 months, we had done deliveries by airplanes, for example. We sent things on barges. So we have an ability to reach remote areas. But also the hours of operation at food banks and food pantries are generally limited. And in some cases, the food is not relevant culturally, so communities will not use that. And still there is a really deep running fear in the immigrant community, for example, to seek assistance. And as of recently, and it's still not a law at this point, the law is still that if an immigrant uses public assistance, they will lose their right to apply for citizenship. There is a push in the government to change that law that was enacted during the last president, but the law didn't change yet. So there is a very big fear in people who are immigrants to use that system. So we are looking at, and we are also looking at the communities who not necessarily have the paperwork, the documentation that is required. Sometimes they make just a little bit over the income limit and they no longer qualify for food assistance. And so, there is that as well. And as we know, so COVID deepened the problem and brought it to the forefront, but it's not new. The racial gap in services and access to food, transportation, healthcare, education, all of these important services has been there for a long, long time here in America. And it's really, COVID is just sort of like shining the light. It's a terrible pandemic, but at the same time, it really brought the weaknesses in our systems to the forefront.
Wow. So what is going on with the pandemic? So how is the world you're working in different than what it was a year and a half ago?
Well, our team is now vaccinated, and that is an incredible feeling because we are, in the trenches every day. And so that was important for us. And with that, we give hugs with a lighter heart. And so that's really good because we are, really like lovey-dovey, huggy people. And so we are seeing a shift too. Another thing, for example, people went back to work and school started up. So the food bank is open, for example, from 2 to 4, but they don't get home until like 5, So we have food, we have communities who do events on the time frame when people are coming home, for example. And then they can just pull off, go through the church parking lot, pick up stuff that they need, and then keep going. So these are those things that we had to sort of adjust and really look at how to be a better service provider. But we see is that in some ways, there are actually deeper needs. There are communities where the surges are really severe. And there are communities who are tiny, very small, just, 1,000 or 2,000 people. And when you talk about dozens of people dying in these communities, the percentage is really high. And so there is a very deep running sadness and also a need for true human contact. So, in many ways, things are somewhat leveling off a little bit. We have, businesses opening back up and people returning to work, but it has some other challenges. And schools still closing from time to time because of surges or outbreaks or whatever. And then parents challenged with that. The eviction moratorium, as Marie, it very well, that ended. And a lot of people are finding themselves in a real bind. And so it becomes a choice of utilities and rent or food. And then that means that the need for our work actually is going up. And that's what we have been seeing. So also emergency food programs through the government have shifted. Unfortunately, the USDA stopped their box program on May 31st. And so we really are trying to convince the United States Department of Agriculture that the need is still there and we would really need support and a serious level, and not just in Washington, but in all 50 states. And so without that, the scene had shifted, and then available food fluctuates more severely. And any time when people are already stressed and are facing a challenge, and then they encounter another something, it could be a very small hiccup, but it creates anxiety that is very deep running. So it's a real interesting dynamic. And I think that compassion, that's the buzz. If we can come to it with compassion, then even if I cannot give them all the food they need for the week, I give them a boost.
Sure. So the connection, just building community, someone knowing that they're there. So the homebound who can't get out to get the services or access, a store or whatever, you're coming to them, just providing a practical service. Yeah. It's very exciting. So if I want to ask you just the practical question of, first, if an organization or corporation or company wants to help your effort, what do they do? I noticed there's a contact us form on your website. Do they fill out that form, or do they call you, or?
Either one is fine. They can also email us at grow, GROW, at farmerfrog.org. And, they, or fill out the form. Yeah, it will all come to the same place.
Okay.
And, we'd be happy to talk to them.
And then what if I am watching this and I am a family in need, individual in need? Is it the same answer? Is it call you?
Yeah, I recommend that they do that. We have a lot of partners, and so depending on where they are, we might be able to direct them to the organization we service who are close to them. Part of it is, as I said, we do serve other organizations. In the state, we have over 460 partner organizations who we service. But, if an individual comes to the farm, we don't turn anybody away. But for people, it makes a lot more sense, if we are servicing already a church group or a community organization in their area, then they go to that group. And these groups are flexible, and they offer hours that is valuable. And it's every group is from the very community. We are just like the people who we serve. So there is no red tape, and there is absolutely, all we have is understanding for each other, because it takes a community to help a community.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So, so you're serving both organizations who serve people, but you're also serving people directly.
Yeah, if they come and they need it, absolutely. We also have a delivery program, and we service folks who are in isolation for whatever reason. Some people are faced with some really severe health challenges. And, this is another thing that's not new. We had elderly who couldn't leave their home for, long time before COVID.
Sure.
But now, because it just sort of popped to the surface, we are able to actually have support services, and we deliver food weekly to their place without, if they don't desire contact, then with absolutely no contact. And I know that we have families and individuals who have been in lockdown, isolation since February 2020, and they still are because of their ongoing problems. And this really is a lifesaver for them.
Wow, that is a long time to be homebound. But I can see how the population with severe illness or high risk or elderly, that would be the case, right? Because they don't get out and around very much, even in normal times. So even more now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you're doing for our community and for individuals, and how you're supporting all these organizations that I'm sure are extremely taxed. And thank you, Marie, for serving with your knowledge and wisdom on the board of Farmer Frog. We'll keep this information up there, and then we're going to follow up with a blog post that has a lot of this information in it in the next week. So if you didn't grab the information on the video, you'll be able to see it on the safeharborrents.com website that I've got up there too. So we'll check back with you again. It's exciting to hear what you're doing. I'm just amazed at what a servant you are and how many servants you're empowering to help more. And it's just very exciting. So Marie, I can see why you're on their board and see why you partner with people like Zsofia. So is there anything else you want to share with us, either one of you, before we wrap up here?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer, for hosting and bringing us together to do this.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just try and schedule it and just make it happen. because we don't always take time to do things like this, and it's just so necessary. And these videos don't always get viewership as we're recording them, but they do get a lot of viewership as we post them and repost them and redistribute them. And a lot of the community will share them with people they know that are in need or that want to. We always have clients that are looking for opportunities to give. And so, and I probably need to formalize that a little bit more, but I have organizations that aren't doing a lot of giving back, but want to be doing that. So I need to make sure I know how to get them in touch with you, Zsofia, because it's sometimes slowing down a busy executive long enough to say, hey, write a check once a quarter. Marie will take it to the meeting or whatever. So we can talk more about that. But if you want to give, all the contact information is down below there on the screen, and feel free to reach out to either Maria or Zsofia or myself. I can hook you up as well. So thanks, ladies, and we'll be talking again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care.
Bye.